Hello, everybody. Dr. Carmen Bryant, Psychological Health Consultants and Services, and my program, Redefining Yourself, a program that was developed for women that are thinking of leaving, needing more information, or have left and are recovering from domestic violent relationships. This program in particular focuses on narcissist abuse or overcoming narcissist abuse. So it's a narcissist abuse recovery program that I developed to educate people on what narcissist abuse is, what it looks like, what the narcissist is thinking, some of the things that they do, their MO, their mission of operation, so to take out the shame or the blame of the abuse out of your hand and putting it back into the proper perspective, meaning putting it back into the lap of the abuser. Thank you guys so much for tuning in on Sunday night. I know it was late that you guys hung in there. I really appreciate all the support. Thank you for all the comments, your stories, thank you for sharing with me. As I said in some of the other videos, I just want you guys, as I put these topics out there, be very careful at how much of your personal information you would like to disclose, because when you post it on YouTube, especially as comments, this is not just something you're sharing with me and those that are following me on the channel, but you're actually sharing it with their entire world. I want you guys to be careful too, because everyone that's on the channel is not a survivor. Some people are narcissists that are watching, and be careful what you say, because that can be held against you, especially if you are still or recovering from or coming out of a relationship with a narcissist. And so if you have not already, please take the opportunity to join me on my YouTube channel. Go and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell so that you can be alerted whenever I go live or whenever I post a new video. And those of you that are viewing from Facebook, please go subscribe to the YouTube channel, because there are going to be times where I'm not going to be able to come live on the Facebook channel. But I've been experiencing some problems with connections whenever I do the live feed on Sundays, where YouTube has went out. So you can come over to my Facebook page, which is Psychological Health Consultants and Services, if you just want to see me bobble my head and laugh. Other than that, you can just hear what I have to say. And so the picture may go out on YouTube, but you can still hear my voice, and I can still see your comments as you're posting comments. And thank you guys so much for interacting. And some people that I didn't get to see, I think it was Miss Donna, it was Miss Rahel, Miss Nikki. I know we got cut off on the first live, and I know you made a comment about your foster parents and your 95-year-old foster mother who is a narcissist. But we never did get to finish that conversation. If you want to share that, you're welcome to share it either on the YouTube channel, or you're also welcome to email me. You can email me at Dr. Carmen Bryant, DrCarmenBryant @outlook.com. The YouTube channel is Dr. Carmen Bryant, Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. So you guys, thank you. Today I just wanted to come on really quick because I was thinking about, there's still research going on in reference to how narcissistic personality disorder is developed. There's nothing that you can pinpoint, and so a lot of things, a lot of the research indicates, the environment, the family you're from, the experiences, trauma, especially trauma, and it's like a autoimmune deficiency. So it's like a response system turned against itself. One thing with a narcissist is that a narcissist does not have the ability for internal self-regulation. They're not, for us, we kind of adjust to our environment, adjust our emotions, if we're stressed, if people cross over boundaries, so we're able to adjust our emotions, adjust our responses. Well, a narcissist, they're not able to self-soothe, they're not able to self-regulate. And so they require fuel from people. They require fuel to make themselves feel good, to give them that sense of, you can make your own self feel good about yourself, your accomplishments, the things that you've done. But a narcissist requires fuel in order for them to regulate. I usually compare it to a stick shift versus a automatic engine, where with an automatic engine, the car itself will regulate, going uphill, downshift, and going downhill, upshift, if I said that right. I drive a stick shift. And so, you know, you're going down the hill is picking up speed, so you have to put your stick shift in a higher gear so that your car, you know, you don't mess up your engine. Your car is going kind of fast. When you're going uphill, you have to downshift to a lower gear in order for the engine to pull up the hill. Where on an automatic vehicle, it actually regulates itself. It picks up on, you know, going uphill, downhill, you know, going straight on the highway, and it adjusts the gears itself automatically. Well, a narcissist is like a stick shift. It, you know, they have to regulate, you know, as they're moving up and down hills, but the way that they regulate is by getting fuel and getting sources of supply. They need to be fulfilled through different sources of supply: sexual sources of supply, you know, intellectual sources of supply, financial sources of supply, everything all day long. Everything that they do and everyone they come in contact with, you know, are sources of supply from them. You know, the intimate source of supply, they have, you know, other sources of supply, but they have to regulate themselves. And so with that being said, I wanted to share, you know, a history of a gentleman a young man that I knew a few years ago. I was not at the time a clinician, nor did I actually know that he had narcissistic personality disorder. Now, after many years and now talking about it and studying it, I went back and looked at his story and kind of put the puzzle pieces together and figured out, like, wow, this guy was a covert, somatic, and cerebral narcissist. Cerebral meaning intelligent, somatic meaning all into their looks, into material things, into sex. They use sex as a source of supply. And covert meaning that very charming individual, very nice individuals, you know, take the shirt off their back, feed the poor, give money to people. And so at that time, I did not realize that the individual that I was talking to was having a conversation with was a narcissist. I just know the story that he told me about his own history, and what he was telling me was, and he's very abusive. But the story that he was telling me was that, you know, when he was young, let's see, father, him and his father very similar, very promiscuous, always had a lot of women, couldn't commit to relationships. Father had a lot of children, and later on, mother remarried. Stepfather was very verbally abusive. Really didn't like the young man. Was verbally abusive. You know, treated the child unfairly. What happened is that the young man had been sexually abused by a family member, and I wasn't clear as to who the family member was. Based on his conversing with him, I'm under the assumption that it's possibly the stepfather that molested the young man, but he had been molested by someone else as well. And so in his family history, there was also a lot of incest amongst the family. And he himself, after being violated as a child, and after the father left, the family kind of overprotected him. He was like the star child. He was very entitled, a very smart kid, you know, and so discipline didn't always come to because of guilt parenting. So discipline did not always come to this young man. And so he was entitled. He was a special child. They treated him very special, but then there were people that also treated, grandmother was a narcissist, father was a narcissist, stepfather was a narcissist. Grew up, and he also began to incestual, I think that was right, incestual relationships with cousins, and a male and female, but specifically male cousins. He had incestual relationships with male cousins, and as he got older, he began to realize that he was able, like sometimes women use their bodies and sex to get what they want. He began to realize that he was able to use sex to get what he wanted from females. He was interested in females, so females. He struggled with his sexuality, and as he grew up and began to work, he began to realize that by the use of sex, meaning with males as well, and he was, this is not something that everyone knew, that he was willing to have sexual relationships with men in order to, number one, get employment, to make it up the corporate ladder. And so secretly, he struggled with bisexuality. Uh, but he did say that he knew exactly what women wanted, and the fact that they just wanted some compliments. All you have to do is compliment them and buy them a little something, and then they'll be satisfied. So his mind was already thinking like that. It's too easy. I already know how women think. All you have to do is compliment them a little bit, and buy them something, and then you can get whatever you want from them. And the other thing is that he says that he knows that he lies. He says, I know that I lie. He says, I lie all the time. And he says, it's easy to lie because everybody believes a lie. He says, I just can't help it. And very promiscuous. Also, he lived in a fantasy world. And so he lived, so speaking to him at the time, though he may chronologically had been a grown man, almost middle-aged man, speaking to him, and listening to him describe certain things. He's very intellectual, very intelligent, but the more you listen to him, the more it sounded as if you were talking to a 12, 13, 14-year-old, sometimes even 16-year-old, because it's like his emotional development and the way that he saw things was that of a preteen or a teenager. And that's how he conducted himself. He would always gather many flying monkeys, had a lot of people that he charmed. People loved him. He had flying monkeys. He always had an entourage. And he lived in a fantasy world. And so he lived in a fantasy world where he was really intrigued with what he saw on television, lifestyles of the rich and famous, the BET specials, where you see music artists on television. You would see these lifestyles of entertainers, or even in the movies. If he was interested in what he saw in the movies, he would replicate that in real life. He literally, it was almost like he would play out or pretend to be in these movies in real life. One thing that he could not stand strong-minded individuals that were not easily manipulated. Talk very fast, like a salesman, but he could not stand strong individuals that could see through the game and that would put him in his place. And so he would smear campaign. If you listen to his conversation, he did not have very good relationships with people that did not comply or did not believe everything that he said. Yeah, he would lie, always in trouble, but always managed to get out of trouble, in trouble with the law, and always managed to get out of trouble with the law. But he would gloat on the fact that the not that the law didn't apply to him, but the way that he almost like presented the information to you is that he would twist not stories, but he would twist laws. If the speed limit was 65, it's okay to go 80 miles per hour. You have to go with the flow of the traffic. And if there's no traffic, it's okay to go 85 if the speed limit is 70, or it's okay to go 90. Number one, either the flow of the traffic or in passing cars. And anyone who's taken the written exam, he would actually argue with you about what you may have learned in driver's ed. You may have learned, I think he one time made a comment that he was watching someone look, you have to look, you have the blind spots in the cars. And so on the blind spots in the cars, you can't look in the mirror and just look over. You actually have to look over your shoulder into your blind spots. Most of us know that drive. So there's blind spots. And so he noticed that someone looking in their blind spot as they were driving, and he would scream and ask, why are you looking over there? What are you doing? And the person is like, I'm looking over my blind spot. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Or would argue with them about, like, about the laws, traffic laws, or anything like that to make people feel like, oh my gosh, maybe I'm wrong. Um, he admitted to the fact that he's always trying to make himself look better than everybody else. You know, he's always trying to, what he the term show out, always lied, you know, and he always competed. He was the type of person that would compete with other people. So if his friends had, you know, houses or had clothes that were more expensive, and he was in debt. He said he was in debt. And so if he had friends that had better clothes or name brand clothes, then he would overdo it by buying even more name brand clothes or expensive things or expensive items. And he would constantly compete and then show up in whatever it is that he had. So it was a constant, it's like, you know, got to be like the Joneses. And so whatever his friends had, if they were better than what he had to make sure that he would steal. He did steal. He would steal, which he said he started stealing when he was younger. And as it elevated, he began to commit fraud. What was the fraud? Credit card fraud, fraud, a lot of fraud, put it that way. A lot of fraud, but he would excuse what he was doing. What else did he do? He did say that, like, one of the things that he, with his friends, like, he would get his male friends, he had male friends, but he would get his male friends to get into conversations about their sex lives with their wives. And so what would happen is as they're, you know, as he's telling his stories about his sexual trysts, and he would also encourage them to go out and do what he was doing. But as he's in, so he would have something, and it wasn't that he was getting the information because he was building a friendship or that they were friends and they held secrets. What he was doing was getting information to hold it against them. And so he would get information from them about their personal sexual experiences with their wives. And then if it was interesting enough, he would start to hoover their wives. And he would do it very subtle, you know, compliments or may text and ask, hey, you know, where is so-and-so at, to get them into a conversation, a very innocent conversations with him or with them, to a point where, like, wives would end up, like, just having conversations, sending pictures of their new hairstyle. What do you think? You think that he's going to like this? And what ended up happening was he was able to hoover them, where he actually had affairs with his friends' wives. Some of them caught on. Some of the wives were loyal, you know, and brought the information up to the husbands. And of course, he would play it down and kind of degrade or belittle, or sometimes the husbands wouldn't say anything. And then, of course, he would play that situation down. He would downplay the accusations and twist the words and of course, make it look like he was innocent. And so the next thing that he would do, excuse me, guys. Oh, no, ma'am. But what he would do was downplay the situation, downplay the accusations, but would also, in the conversation, bring up the things that the husbands were doing, and then downplay it, where, see, that's probably where she got it from. You better watch yourself, you know, or, you know, you better watch yourself because she probably assuming that it's me. I don't have, you know, anything to downplay the situation. Gaslight, wordplay, you know, and a lot of them would fall for it. And a lot of his friends, a lot of the friends that he had, that he would go after the wives, especially knowing where the husbands were at. That he would cover for the husbands while they were doing whatever they were doing, and then he would also hoover the wives or give the wives enough information. So, you know, and like I said, at that particular time when that information was given, you know, within time, as I began to learn, you know, what narcissism is, what I began to put two and two together, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is the life of a narcissist. This individual was a narcissist. Not only did I get information on the history, you know, the fact that the individual was traumatized, the fact that some of that was generational, you know, the incest was generational. I think they had prostitution in the family. One thing that was taught is that in order to take care of your family, you're willing to do anything. It doesn't matter what it is. You do whatever you have to do to take care of your family. It was instilled. And so when he had been sexually violated and realized that sex worked to get what you want, he used sex to get what he wanted and crossed over sexuality boundaries, meaning that he was a heterosexual man. However, if he needed supply or if he needed something to progress himself, he was willing to cross over the lines and to have sex with a male counterpart or partner. He did struggle with the bisexuality, the bisexual urges. However, in the environment, in the field, the career that he had, it was not acceptable. That's not something that was acceptable. And for him, that would have been a very shameful thing because of how people looked at him and how he had presented himself. And so I just wanted to share that with you guys. So I just want to make a brief video because I just wanted to share that information on some of the histories of an individual that I knew was not a client, but I knew that had shared his history and given me some background. And now thinking about it, I was like, wow, we're already talking about and researching at how did narcissistic personality develop. Father was a narcissist, grandmother was a narcissist, stepfather was a narcissist, sexual abuse occurred not once but twice, and possibly by the stepfather. Also lived a life of entitlement. The parents in the parental roles guilt parented for the father leaving, guilt parented, made that was the special child, made the child feel entitled, highlighted his appearance and his looks, that he was a beautiful child, he's very smart, and so they highlighted it to make him feel better. And well-meaning parents, trying to cover for that, or trying to help their children, but the discipline lacked as well. So there were not a lot of, even though that he said that there were consequences for his actions, in reality there wasn't really a lot of consequences toward his behavior. Another thing that he said that though, and he lied as a child, he was a compulsive liar as a child, lied all the time, and they, instead of correcting him, they would laugh and make comments like, that boy know he a lie in a heartbeat, that boy always lying, he know he lie, he be lying. So, but it was in a funny way, and it wasn't in a corrective way, in a corrective manner. And so people around him, his friends, his family, flying monkeys they knew, and they would still say, he always lying. That's just a part of his character. And think about it, they're talking about an individual that's a narcissist. And so I just wanted to share that story with you guys. Just today, I want to share a story of some background history of a narcissist. Now, this is not a history of all narcissists and what all narcissists have went through. But remember, you'll find trauma. You'll probably find family members that were narcissistic. So that was that environment of a narcissistic environment, predisposed to it, other sexual trauma within the family, incest, prostitution, and then growing up and committing the incest again with his own family members, and then specifically targeting the males within the family. And so it was a learned behavior, but these are some of the foundations. It's just one individual, because there are many out there that are narcissists, and a lot of them have traumatic backgrounds. But this is just the foundation of one in particular that I wanted to share, that came to my mind when I was doing some studying on it. I was like, oh my gosh, I never thought about it. This individual was a narcissist, but he shared his story, and so I just wanted to share that story with you guys to give you a little foundation of history of a narcissist. You guys probably have your own stories of what the narcissist has shared with you, or some information that you know about a narcissist. And please, share the story. Tell me what you found out, or some of the things that you know of someone that inadvertently, I think that's the word I'm looking for, may have told their story, and you didn't even realize that they were a narcissist. And so I just wanted to let you guys know, I have not forgotten you guys. Some of the topics that were given to me, one was no contact, and then the parents of narcissistic parents, and some of the methods that they use to groom their children. So I wanted to talk about that too. So I have not forgotten the topics, and I'm gonna come back. We still got a few days left within the week. This is my Monday, and so I just want to come on and share that with you guys. Hopefully you guys got something out of that. Please, once again, if you're not already, join my YouTube channel, which is Dr. Carmen Bryant with a T, Overcoming Narcissist Abuse, and then subscribe and hit the bell so that you can always know whenever I come on live or post a new video. Or if you are more familiar with the Facebook app, you can go to my professional Facebook page, which is Psychological Health Consultants and Services, and you can like the page and you will get the videos as well. Leave some comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about the videos. Let me know if it's helping you. Some of you guys are giving me, comments, letting me know how much it's helping you, how much you're being educated. Hey, I'm not the only one. I'm a limited source of supply. You have people like Angie Atkinson. You have Mr. Quinn Holiday from Associate Direct. You have Sarah Speaks. You have Melanie Tonya Evans. These are all life coaches. And Mr. Quinn Holiday is a male who has been through narcissist abuse. There's another gentleman that I really like. His name is Dr. Les. I think it's Dr. Les Carter. He also teaches. Now, he does very short clips, but very powerful clips. But he also teaches about narcissist abuse. So there's a plethora of information out there to get you guys educated on what narcissist abuse is. So once again, thank you, because you could have been doing anything. You don't have to subscribe to my channel, but you did. And those of you that tune in and you're supportive and you listen to me on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, I really appreciate the support. It really makes me feel good about doing the research and providing you with this information. And so you too, when you get to a place where you're able to talk about it without spilling your heart out and being triggered about the things that have happened as being a survivor, then you start making videos as well, because we need to educate people. Please share these videos, because you never know who around you or even family members are going through narcissist abuse. You'd be surprised. People like, I went through it for 30 years and didn't even know I was married to a narcissist, or I didn't understand. And many people are coming in with physical ailments and mental health issues and complex post-traumatic stress as a result of these relationships with narcissists. So thank you guys. Thank you guys, number one, for being survivors and hanging in there, and it's going to get better. You guys go seek counseling, and make sure when you find a counselor, you shop for a counselor. You ask that counselor questions. Find out if that counselor understands the residuals of narcissist abuse. Ask them if they understand what narcissist abuse is. Ask them if they understand the results of narcissism and narcissistic relationship. If they don't understand or they don't know what you're talking about, move on to another therapist. Nothing wrong with therapist shopping. Find someone that understands what you've been through. That type of trauma is different than any other type of trauma or regular trauma of a breakup of a relationship. That is very distinctive and very, very destructive, a very destructive relationship. Domestic violence is a destructive act in itself, but narcissist abuse is a very destructive relationship that will tear down the core of an individual, even to a point where they will commit suicide, because they don't understand why the narcissist has discarded them or why they have found new supply. But once again, thank you guys for tuning in. Stay tuned. I'll be posting another video tomorrow, whatever your tomorrow is, and please share, and get this information out. And like my friend always says, go and be great.